All right, so welcome to the Frankly Fabulous Club Fabulous Downtown Video Diary. Sunday night, 11 p.m. It's a solstice, I think. Is today, right, or is it tomorrow? I'm pretty sure. Today's Father's Day. It's Pride. Yesterday was Juneteenth. What else is it? It's a U.S. Open golf tournament. There's just a lot going on. Beautiful summer festival, beautiful summer day. I went down to the river and I did a solstice ritual. I think it's today, right? Or is it the 21st? Maybe it's the 21st. It's the first day of summer. But I went out, not on purpose. I mean, I don't know. It's a little hard to get to the river. You get across that West Street, which is kind of high-speed traffic, heavy traffic. It's a highway, more or less. Speed limit's 50 miles per hour. And then there's a bike path, so there's a lot of things. I read this book about a decade ago. Philip Lopat Waterfront, and it was all about the perimeter of Manhattan, the waterfront. And part of it, well, what they wanted to do on the West Side Highway in the 70s, there was a plan, I think it was called West Way, and they were going to bury the road under the river or underground, so it would be a tunnel, because part of the point of his book was in Manhattan, the waterfront, I think it might actually be called waterfront, access is very cut off because of roads, the FDR, the West Side Highway, or I think it's just called West Street now. To me, it's the West Side Highway. That's the name that makes the most sense. It's the Joe DiMaggio, even though Joe DiMaggio is from San Francisco, for crying out loud. But it's, it's, so there was a plan in the 70s to bury it, because the idea being there should be kind of free, I don't know, the rivers around New York City are different. It's not exactly like the Seine, which is like this very peaceable, kind of quaint river that goes through the middle of the town. I mean, maybe that has flooded before, but it's not, it doesn't seem like uncontrollable, like rapids or anything. It's very like steady, slow. The Hudson is a mighty, the lordly Hudson. It's a big, kind of bulging, sloshing, and it's wide. I mean, it opens up into the bay, which opens up into the ocean. So it's more or less kind of a delta port mouth. And there's not even a bridge. I mean, the George Washington Bridge is way uptown. They can't even build a bridge across it. I was reading this thing today about Allen Ginsberg took the ferry in 1940, whatever, from Hoboken to Manhattan. James Schuyler talks about the ferries on the Hudson specifically. The clam broth house or whatever. I'm not sure if there's as much of a culture of that today. I'm sure there's some ferries that go, but now there's the PATH train and there's the tunnels. Those existed back then, but as far as I know, that's how most people get in and out. I don't know of that many people taking commuter ferries per se. Maybe there are. It's kind of an interesting way to travel. I love the Staten Island ferry. And I like taking the East River ferry and stuff too, even though it costs money. It's kind of a... It reminds me, I remember when one of the Mission Impossible movies came out. Maybe the second one, I don't know. How many are there now? There's like 8. That's all Tom Cruise does. Jack Reacher, Mission Impossible. He's found an interesting... He's just become a stuntman, sort of. I don't know. I guess that's his escapism. And I think he's into doing that stuff. He wants to go to space and shit. In Top Gun, he's like flying the jet and stuff. It's crazy. He's like 60 fucking years old. He's flying a jet. It's like, what's the G-force of that? I couldn't handle it now. I'm 36. I'd be having give me the barf back. But Tom Cruise was doing a promo tour for Mission Impossible, and like he had one day in Manhattan where like they publicized this. Even they publicized the publicity tour. He was going to all these different premieres all over Manhattan. He had to do MTV or TRL. There was like a theater uptown he was going to. Then he was like swooping down, and he was taking a helicopter, he was taking a ferry, he was taking a limo, he was taking a motorcycle, just like every fucking, the subway, all these different modes of transportation to do his like publicity tour in order to do it in time and shit. I don't know, that's one of the fun things about Manhattan. You got helicopters flying around, planes, ferries, all kind of boats and shit, barges, trains, of course, commuter railroad. You have it all just circling around. It's kind of, this Tower of Babel type situation we're in. So, the other night, that was the first night I went to a bar. I went to Niagara on 7th and A, which I've been in there a bunch of times. I mean, I've been going to Niagara since I, 2008 or 2009 at least. I saw Kirsten Dunst once on that corner, waiting for a cab, like when I first came to New York. I think I was at 7A. I was on that corner. I saw Kirsten Dunst, and I was like, oh my god. That was back when the Lower East Side was kind of edgy, like when it was still felt like the Strokes or something. That was right before the blandification. But Niagara's still there. I'm not sure. And one of the first weeks when I came to New York, December 2010, I met this girl at Niagara who was recently divorced. I think she was from Miami. She lived around here. I don't know what street. Maybe it was this street. I think it was 19th. We went to Merci Market. I remember that. And we watched Jersey Shore. I forget how. I think maybe she had DVDs. How the fuck did it? Because that was maybe before streaming. Was there Netflix streaming at that point? I don't know how we watched all that Jersey Shore, but we were watching all this Jersey Shore trash TV, the situation. And I was young enough, I don't know, it was like intense to me that she was like recently divorced. Like her husband was like some huge jack dude, and or I don't even know if they were actually divorced. She did some kind of fashion. She had some kind of her own fashion. This was sort of before Instagram became like the marketplace for all that stuff. She just hustled. I don't even know what she made, shoes and shit, I don't know. But like she was doing like her own branding stuff. And I think her office was maybe even New Jersey, but she had a studio apartment in Chelsea. It was like the whole bottom floor, I think. And there was I think it was maybe on the first floor. There was a fire escape out back, and we had kind of a makeout sequence in the rain in December. It was kind of steamy. Felt like a music video. It felt like a Jennifer Beals video or something. Staying Alive, Flashdance. She was kind of she was cool, but I remember it felt like we met dancing. We met on the dance floor at Niagara. I would go because my friend Anna lived on 7th and D in the East Village. A lot of my friends, a lot of the initial activity of my life in New York City was in the East Village. Friends I knew lived there or worked there or both. And so 7A was like the spot 24/7. And of course St. Mark's Place. We knew this guy who worked at Hop Devil. Fucking I had a job interview at Hop Devil. They asked me to tell them a joke, and I told the longest, unfunniest joke in existence, and I didn't get the job. So I don't know. It's like, should I have moved on from New York? I don't know. Now it's like, I'm in this weird. I mean, it's supposed to be this hedonistic summer. That's not really been the case for me. I don't know. I'm weirdly kind of like detached. I'm enjoying spending all the time alone. The weekends are a little strange because it's like I'm not really sure what to do. I don't really feel comfortable going into a place with a lot of people, although I did on Friday. That was the first time I'd been. Like, I really do want to go. Geez, fuck it, frozen 11 sweet. Um, but I mean Niagara. I don't know how this happened, but like literally, all the people I've hated my whole life have completely migrated. I vibe with them. I don't vibe with them, but like for some reason I am just in the exact same neighborhoods that they are in. I just don't get it at all. Even in Columbus, even in college, right? Going out to bars, all the bars I went to were just like the worst. Not because I felt an affinity, it was just like I didn't really know what else to do. Uh, McFadden's, Ugly Tuna Saloona, bars in the Gateway on campus. My friends lived on Ninth Street, not far from there, so we could kind of walk to those bars. And I don't know, I just didn't have a clue. There was some sense that, like, that was where you would meet a girl and hook up or something, even though I don't. It couldn't have been farther from the truth. I mean, that never really happened to me once in college. It was just kind of an exercise in frustration every single time I went to any one of those places. They were like public, like you knew where they were. You could get in for free. There'd be a DJ. I went to Brother, all those places in the fucking Arena District, Brothers, Gasworks, even Spice Bar, Sugar Bar. What's that place across the street? That Irish. A lot of them are like Irish. What the fuck is that place? It's gone now. The Arena District is uh, um, Woodlands do it. Woodland Presents or what? I think the last I heard, all of the Arena District culture moved to the Shore North. Crazily enough, Park Street, all of that kind of like bro frat date rapey. But just like, I don't know, you're going to go, there's going to be a dance floor with some super booming sound system that's going to be playing some mega mix of just like all the current hits. I spent a lot of nights. Every Thursday at Brothers was dollar beer night. If you had a mug, a lot of these places had mug nights. Outer Inn had a mug night, and they were like off nights. So a night where you wouldn't expect there to be that many people, a Monday or something. I forget what day the Outer Inn. That was either Monday or Sunday. It was like an off night, but it was like a dollar beer night. So the place would be packed. So even though, I mean, I don't know how this shit works. It's just like these relationships are already kind of pre-decided. I don't know how these people meet each other or who they are. I haven't really tried to like strike up a conversation with any of them because it seems impossible. How do I talk to like, I mean, when I was on the dance floor at Niagara, a couple guys started talking to me and it just seemed kind of weird. They seemed weirded out by what I had to say. This guy like pat me on the shoulder. He's like, yeah, you're the man. You look like you're the man. He like stopped and he's like, you look like you're the man. And I'm like, okay. It's like, what's up? And I'm like, I'm just loving life. I'm out here life. I don't know. They sort of like stopped and they kind of like looked at me once I started talking. It was like, am I just that much of a freak? I don't know. These guys, I don't know who they are. They're a lot of them are finance people, I guess, and a lot of them are tech people. But whew, the bar to Niagara, the line to get into Niagara on Friday night was literally, I don't know, there was probably 40. It was like pianos would have been, 5, 6, 7 years ago, or what was that place? Sugar Bar or Sweet and Dirty or something. There was some bar in Soho that would be packed sometimes. It was just like all the frat people that live in the West Village, but they all already know each other, and they're all already kind of like spoken for. But I mean, there's a lot of good looking people. I hate to say it in New York City right now, but just like there's good looking people everywhere. And there's some sense this is supposed to be like the rebound summer, the hedonistic summer. And I mean, the way people are dressing is just like, wow, I feel super horny. And I don't know, I'm not having, my summer's been pretty chaste, really. I don't drink, so I can't just like go out and totally throw myself into getting drunk and just doing whatever happens to like get it done. I mean, I've been going on a lot of dates that have not really gone anywhere. Like usual, that's how online dating usually fucking goes, to be honest. I mean, I can't advocate enough. It's just like these women just date guys because they're tall. It drives me insane. Like, women just date these fucking guys. I see them looking at him. If the guy's over 6 feet tall, the girl's just like, they're so mean. I think that's become like a little bit of a cultural thing to just like be mean. Like, fuck the white cis het men, so we want to like cuck them, make them cry. And I don't know, I have been watching that fucking They All Laughed movie. That's like the horniest like male gaze movie of all time. I mean, that movie is all about male gaze. And so I don't know. I mean, I want a healthy sex life. In some ways, it feels like a little bit culturally ratified or something to be horny publicly because of the pandemic. Like, people just need to make up for lost time and blow off steam, and I don't know. The sense I get from the internet is like everybody's having sex with me. But I don't know. The other sense I'm getting is people are like even more petty than they were before, which is insane to me. People are really withholding of affection on the internet with their likes. I mean, okay, so the other thing, my last episode, the last issue, I was talking about when I did my recording for Don Yorty's blog. And so he posted it. He posted it to his Facebook. I didn't really look at the post because I'm terrified to look that closely. He posted it yesterday because he finished it yesterday. And I don't know. I don't want to spread it a lot yet because I'm still kind of like, I don't know. It's just no one's going to give a fuck anyway. It's more just to kind of have it and to have it be a part of the record. And I can share it amongst my friends. But it's not going to be like some kind of big smash social media success or something. So anyway, he shared, obviously, because he shared it to his Facebook, which is very popular. I mean, he has a lot of fans, and people like a lot of his posts. He posts like these paintings by Charles Birchfield, which are pretty cool. He'll get 40 likes or more, 90 likes on one of these paintings. I mean, he's been around the East Village and been on the scene since the 80s, so a lot of people know him. He's got a lot of respect, and to be honest, his post was like so fucking on point. It was so well done. It's really beautiful. Like the language, it's so exact. He really is truthful. He sees it. He's got a great eye. He's an artist. He's a sensitive, acute, and a poet, definitely. And everything he said is true, and he picked his words very carefully, and he did a great job. I mean, his post is excellent. It's so tasteful. I'm so honored to be a part of it. It's just really beautiful. I don't really even care if people like it. At this point, I've gone beyond the fucking need for likes, I think. I've broken through. That's not what this is about. It's just about doing it, and even if I get fired, I don't know. I'm just going to continue to do it. If I can continue to book my own shit and just do it, I'm just going to do that. I mean, we'll see how far that goes. So far, so good. So he shared it to his Facebook. Like I said, he normally gets, if he does like a good post that he writes, he'll get over 100 likes on it or something. Literally, the post, I didn't see, but he said, as far as I could tell, the post was, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Proctor, the one and only Matt Proctor, which I'm so flattered. I mean, he's an exact, like I said, truthful person. He knows what he's talking about. So his words have a great deal of meaning. And he's not like effusive. His post is not really even super complimentary, I wouldn't say. I think that's what's skillful about it. He kind of, the way he talks about it, he's able to be honest, but he's positive and he's supportive too, without being, detracting or anything. It's just so beautifully descriptive, and you can tell he had spent time with it and thought about it and recognized it. He's a hip person. He sees what it is. He's an artist. He's there. So his post is beautiful, and nobody liked it. Literally not a single person. The only person that liked it was him. He hearted it. Literally no other person liked it, which I don't care. It's whatever. It didn't really hurt my feelings. I'm kind of trying to keep it on the DL because I don't want to get in trouble at my job. I feel like I should send them an email. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't want to bother them because, like I said, nobody's going to see this, really. Like, nobody liked it at all. So I doubt if that many people clicked it or watched it or anything. So I don't know. Somehow I feel good about what I'm doing because I'm doing it, and I'm not. I mean, my pamphlets, like he said in the article, they're hot off the press. It's hot off the press. It's a hot mess. There's certain things about it that maybe should be edited. Am I the last, first thought, best thought? I don't like swear by that, but somehow that became more or less the technique. Not first thought, best thought, but usually when I put a phrase down, I can't change it. So revision is like impossible for me. So my work it's more like a drip or like a waterfall. There's not like bulges of impact. It's a diary. Like he said, Matt Proctor's diary. He nailed it. Everything he said is very useful, the way he described it. Matt Proctor's diary. Absolutely. That's what it is. And that's what I want to do. I'm doing what I want to do. I want to expand. I need to get a fucking iPhone because I need to be filming this stuff. I don't think this is really cutting it. I mean, I like doing this, but I think I need to do more episodes for TV as well, because I can have impact. I can put visual. I'm living it. I'm already living it. The episode's already happening. I should have been filming all this stuff. This all would have been great episodes, but I just I could have filmed that whole Don Yorty thing. That would have been an incredible episode. But I decided to talk about it, write about it instead. Speaking of which, should I read some shit? I was going to read stuff I had just written. That's going to be my new technique, is just reading stuff that immediately after I wrote it. So nobody liked the fucking post. I don't give a shit. Fuck the Google. Facebook sucks anyway. I'm going to put it on Instagram. I've decided maybe to recommit to Instagram. Anybody who's cool or today, Instagram is like probably where they spend a lot of their time. Anybody who wants to be like central to the cultural conversation, it's all happening on Instagram, I would say, at this point. I mean, I go to a lot of in-person events. I do about as good as I can. I went to the Crush reading series on Friday. So Friday, did I talk about this already, or I feel like I didn't. I went to the Crush reading series. I got this pamphlet about sex work written by this poet who lives in New Orleans. Let me credit them. Irene Silt. I'm trying to write in this century. That's my new goal. My work suddenly feels like everything I've been studying is from like the 50s and 60s. And from 100 years ago as well. I was reading Hart Crane this week and Edna St. Vincent Millay. That was also a big thing that I have been revisiting. I found this fucking... So I've had... But I'm trying to write in this century. I'm trying to write in the 21st century. I feel like my writing is very old and sluggish all of a sudden. I need to be 21st century. But I bought this. This is a copy of Edna St. Vincent Millay Collected Sonnets that I bought at Housing Works on Crosby Street, just offhanded, because I've heard of Edna St. Vincent Millay, and I can't say that I've read this very much. It's handy because it's a nice pocket edition. That's one reason why I bought it, because I knew it was a book that I wouldn't really, not that I don't care about it, but like I knew I could take it on the train and stuff, and I wouldn't be that worried about, scuffing it up or whatever. And also, it's Edna St. Vincent Millay. I mean, I'm curious. She's a New York Greenwich Village poet, and so I wanted to. But I haven't read it. It cost 50 cents, and it's just a beautiful. I mean, at Housing Works, I found all kind of amazing stuff on the dollar rack. My New American Poetry I got at Housing Works for $1. That off Broadway with the Frank O'Hara play and the Joel Oppenheimer play, that was $1. Like, I found incredible stuff. Not anymore. Now they've changed it all. It's more expensive. They don't even have a 50 cent. But this was 50 cents, and I bought this in November 2013. I wrote it right inside. So that was right after I came back, right around the time I started living in the little room. I came back for Halloween. That's when I went as Captain America from Easy Rider as Halloween, right before I bought this book. November 2013. 50 cents. And I forget, I think Bernadette Mayer was talking about Edna St. Vincent Millay. And I don't know, I was just looking at my bookshelf yesterday, and the book just it just called out to me. I've been studying all these Greenwich Village poets, Maxwell Bodenheim, Hart Crane, like I was saying, I read this week, because he lived on fucking 45 Grove Street. I was hanging out there last night smoking a J in honor of Hart Crane, another Ohioan, bouncing back and forth like a motherfucker, uneducated, didn't go to college. But I'm looking at my bookshelf, and for some reason this fucking book just called out to me, And I had this in my room, my little room at the Slooge, and I almost left it there, to be honest. Like, not that I don't love this book. I mean, it's such a beautiful volume, but it was only 50 cents, and like, I can't say I ever picked it up and it just like felt like, oh my God, this is one of my favorite. I mean, it's a beautiful book, and Edna St. Vincent Millay is a romantic figure, and just like, even when I first came to New York in 2008 or whatever, the Cherry Lane Theater, just going down there and just standing there and just being like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever fucking seen. Like, my life's dream is still to have a show in the Cherry Lane Theater. So I was down there last night, and I want to do a reading. I want to do a Cherry Lane Theater reading, poetry reading. That's my new goal. And maybe Poets Theater. I mean, fucking John Ashbery and Frank O'Hara did plays there. Why not us? And Edna St. Vincent Millay started it, more or less. She lived in that little tiny house, a true poet's house, half of a fucking house, on whatever that street is. Is that Bedford or it's Barrow and something. Bedford, I think, maybe. I don't know. But this book kind of called out to me just because it's Edna St. Vincent Millay, I think, is in my piece. Or maybe, did I mention her in the Cafe Life piece? I'm not sure. But she's definitely a part of this 100 years ago, 20s, kind of bohemia. She was in love with that Edmund Wilson guy whose diaries I've been reading, who I talked about in the last one. They kind of had an affair, and it was kind of too hot. So they spent the rest of their lives kind of in love with each other, not really being able to. But Edna St. Vincent Millay is perhaps most famous for writing the line about burning the candle at both ends, which is a very New York lifestyle, I feel like. Burning the candle at both ends and just partying all the time, working all the time, never sleeping. Go, go, go. And I felt that recently too. Just like going to all these readings, going out, especially coming out of the pandemic. I feel like I'm getting tired easier. Just doing anything. Doing things 2 days in a row. It's like, whoa, I need a day off. But anyway, so I thought, I'll check this out. Let me read this again. You know, these sonnets. I'm trying to kind of get into this. I think I'm reading this stuff from the 20s, like modernism, kind of with a fresh eye. Hart Crane was one of the main things I read when I moved to New York in 2008 and 2009. This Library of America edition, literally. I'd take it on the fucking train, and the way Hart Crane saw the subway and Avenue A and all of it. Brooklyn, the fact that Hart Crane lived in fucking Brooklyn, that made him relatable. We lived in Brooklyn, you know. Even though he lived a lot of his time in the Village, in the West Village, in these really nice streets. I mean, Grove Street is really beautiful. This townhouse he lived in is gorgeous with the storefronts in the bottom, like bars or something. Like, what an amazing place that must have been 100 years ago. So anyway, I'm reading this book last night, and I notice on the inside there's this writing that says University Place and 8th Ave, Cedar, and then it's got a phone number, OR49818. I'm like, oh, University Place and 8th, I think it's 8th Street. It's not 8th Ave. That's the Cedar Tavern, because Frank O'Hara lived over there on University Place. The Cedar Tavern was like, you know, the place where all of the fucking poets and painters hung out in the 50s. Fucking, you know, Jack Michelin, Franz Klein. There's a picture of Frank O'Hara there. A lot of, you know, all those people hung out at the Cedar Tavern, getting shit-faced. Jackson Pollock. De Kooning, I think, was maybe one of the first people that hung out there. So I'm like, oh, wow, you know, like this book must have belonged to somebody that, you know, went to the Cedar, was some kind of hipster person. And then I'm kind of looking, and I see on the title page, there's an inscription, and I read it, to an Anglo-American poetess that I dig. And I read it, I'm looking closer, and it's signed by Ted Jones, beatnik poet par excellence. Ted Jones, who I've mentioned a lot in my poetry and in episodes. I have his selected here. He's great. I mean, he's really a visionary. He's a painter, and he had connections. I think, who was it, Duchamp or Andre Breton? One of you know, the French surrealists. He was one of the few Americans that they took seriously and considered a true surrealist. His paintings are phenomenal. And I think his involvement also, he had a house in Timbuktu. He was a true beatnik in that he kind of lived in all these different places. I think he had an apartment in Paris and an apartment in New York, and he had a house in Timbuktu in Africa that he would go to sometimes. He'd spend part of the year there. I think that's amazing. You know, I would love to know more about that. And I think he offered it to, you know, if his poet friends wanted to stay there, they could go and stay there. And I think he lived in Seattle. He would split his time between Timbuktu and Seattle, but also Paris. So he had connections, San Francisco. There's videos of him reading in Amsterdam. He was kind of definitely one of the kind of late 50s beatnik media figures that I'm kind of, is my particular niche, in that he kind of drummed up and played into the media hype about it. He did like the Rent a Beatnik parties and was in the photo spreads, the Life magazine photo spreads. And he was kind of, I don't know, just a kind of a playboy and a pickup artist. And that's what's so amazing about this fucking, so I found it yesterday, June 19th. I'm reading it. To an Anglo-American poetess that I dig, Ted Jones, 59. 1959 he made this out. It's in pencil. So he inscribed this to some Anglo-American poetess that he digged. To her. This is her copy of Edna St. Vincent Millay Sonnets. I mean, how fucking cool is that? 50 cents for this. This thing, I mean, Ted Jones, you could sell this for $50, if not more. Like, he's totally a legend, totally a genius, totally underread, totally understudied. And he has beautiful handwriting, beautiful signature. So I've been carrying this book around for almost a decade. I never saw that before last night. Housing Works didn't see it either because they sold it for 50 cents. A lot of my books by poets are autographed. I ordered this Ron Padgett book the other day that's autographed. $6 on Thrift Books. So that was my big discovery present surprise that happened last night, signed by Ted Jones. So I had a social media post about it, of course. That was somewhat validating and successful. Made me feel good about myself because they control my self-esteem. And then, so I spent the evening last night walking around the West Village. I went to Edna St. Vincent Millay's house, where I've been by that countless times. I always think about it every time I go by. And I always end up at the Cherry Lane Theater. It's a really beautiful location, that kind of like, that back street that's like almost just an alley to itself. There isn't really traffic that goes there. It's a very pedestrian street. And the awning and the size of the Cherry Lane Theater, that red door, it's just so perfect. It's so beautiful. It is like a set or like some kind of very calm, magical corner of the world. That movie Reds. I was thinking about that movie Reds, which is about this Greenwich Village bohemia of the 10s and 20s. John Reed, E.E. Cummings, Edmund Wilson, who's the guy, Brendan Gill. That kind of, I don't know, F. Scott Fitzgerald world. He's maybe the apex of that or something. James Thurber. The New Yorker. It's still everybody's dream to get in the New Yorker. Even though, I don't know, I have my own issues with the New Yorker. It feels very celebrity obsessed and just obsessed with popularity and being cool like everything else in the culture. It doesn't feel funky or weird or like James Thurber. He's somebody I've been thinking about recently because he's from Columbus, Ohio, and fucking ended up in the Village. Don Powell, I think, is from Ohio. Been thinking about Don Powell too. Wrote some novel about people from Ohio ended up in the Village. James Thurber. He's a cartoonist. I think the cover on my book is maybe what people might appreciate about it most. So I put together a cartoon book. People might like that better. That's the kind of niche. I'm in a Thurber kind of path here. The trail that he blazed. I don't know. I need to get a haircut. I want to get contact lenses. I just need a whole my ex emailed me about apparently, well, I don't know. I probably shouldn't. I don't know. I'm trying not to have a rebound from my ex with my ex. It's not going that great. I don't know. I'm trying to meet people. Maybe my attitude does need to change. I I I'm trying to think about that. How I can have more discipline. Maybe that might make me. I mean, it's always hard, to be honest. Dating and trying to make things happen is always hard. There's always rejection. There's always there's no it's not that rewarding to be. I mean, the rewards are not that as often as you'd like, let's say. Even if you work hard at it. And I'm trying, I don't know. I'm trying to stay more focused on career, and that stuff is going pretty well. Not that I have a career. Well, I have my career is just the right size. And if I could just keep it this way forever, it'd be totally honorable. But I'm ready to break through to a bigger audience as well. Hopefully that will happen someday, soon. Could I have done more? Could I be doing more? I feel pretty good about what I've accomplished so far, to be honest. Maybe I could work harder. Part of my philosophy and my poetics is just letting things happen rather than forcing them or working per se. Maybe I need to reevaluate that. So Friday night I went to Niagara. I got in. It didn't take that long, but I mean it was just packed. It was shoulder to shoulder with people, just people everywhere, and just bros, and the women who love them. I don't know why. And I went into the dance floor, the room in the back. The DJ was okay. It was kind of 90s heavy in a way. I mean, I suppose that's to be expected, but they were playing like Backstreet Boys. Backstreet's Back, all right. And it's like, this is cool, I guess, but am I sticking out? I don't know. Am I sticking out like a sore people were starting to look at me a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I want to believe that because of the pandemic, we've just got like a whole new world and a whole new open, loving, promiscuous, accepting way of life. But I don't think that's what's happening at all. The pandemic, I think in a certain way it probably was cleansing, or it was good to take a little break, reset. But now that everything's sort of starting back up and going back to normal, I think we're, those traumas, those calluses, those the maladaptive postures we have to take to get through our day-to-day lives, to push forward through the effort, the struggle. We're sort of reassuming those harnesses, and it's painful. Werner Herzog said something in his interview about the way that we're going to have to readjust to the changes in our environment is going to be painful. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of things in our lives that are going to be painful. Like the pandemic was painful. But also, I mean, as a man, I think readjusting. I don't know what the fucking rules are. To be honest, I haven't really approached anybody in public because I don't know what the rules are. To be honest, I see guys doing it all the time. To be honest, I feel like I'm watching men be very forward with women in a way that maybe they weren't before. Like in Washington Square Park, I saw a couple of guys, even over here. I'll be out in the fucking plaza doing my show or whatever, live streaming. I saw some guy just like massively hit on some girl. And then sort of get frustrated when she was like not that nice to him. It's like, well, are you serious, man? Like, you're just completely like interrupting this person's day. But I don't know. I was surprised to see that because my guess would have, I mean, none of these efforts seemed that successful, but I'm going to change the angle just real fast. I don't know. I'm making a lot of excuses, I guess, by saying, "Oh, I don't know what the dynamics are," but like I didn't. So I'm in the fucking Niagara. They're playing Backstreet's Back, all right, whatever. Literally, I'm surrounded by tech people, I guess, finance people. It's just like college. I mean, maybe they're a little nerdier. There's like a mixture of like, I don't know what it is about these finance people, but they are all like genetically just total badasses. The men are all 6 feet tall and totally like well built and just great. They all look like Superman. Every fucking white guy in the West Village looks like goddamn Superman. Like, they're all jogging and wearing Under Armour and then so they came back to New York to fucking party and have like a big frat hedonistic, like I said, making up for lost time after the pandemic. Fear of missing out. I think our culture is just so like conditioned. Our generation is so conditioned in media and celebrity that even the frat bro, well-to-do, kind of boring Reagan people want to be in New York because TRL was here and Natalie Portman lived in the West Village, or fucking Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin, or Sofia Coppola, or Liv Tyler, or you name it, Sex and the City, Sarah Jessica Parker. I think I saw Billy Eichner in the Bleecker Park last night walking his dog. I'm not totally sure, but I thought it was him. And just a bunch of frat bros. Like, it's crazy. It's exactly like college. And then when I lived in the Short North, when I lived at that house on Denison across from Goodale Park, which is another neighborhood very similar, it was probably a bohemia and kind of a beautiful, impoverished, kind of dangerous, kind of cutty, downtown, urban, old houses, a lot of character, fireplace, hardwood floors, cornice work, apartments. And when I moved there in 2009, 2010, the people that lived next to me were like playing beer pong and shit like it was a fucking frat house. It was literally like a frat house next door. And the girl who lived next to me worked for Chase Bank. She was a clerk. The guy who lived directly diagonal up was IT. His roommate was like some kind of office financial person. The people above me, the one girl was a nurse. There's also a lot of, health industry people. They're also kind of yuppies. They want to be near restaurants and like culture and shit, but they're not artists. This is something I was thinking about today. Is like how rare I meet somebody on, let's say, because Hinge is like the primary, probably most successful way I've had of meeting potential sexual partners, let's say. I almost never match with anybody who is an actor. I can't believe it, actually. I've matched with musicians from time to time. Like, the one girl I went on a date with, she had been in a band, but now she was just like, she worked in some fucking office in the World Trade Center or the Freedom Tower. Like, she didn't do that anymore. And even my friend who's a fucking occupational therapist, she's in healthcare. She was in a band in like 2008. She's not in a band anymore. She lives in a cool neighborhood, and she like goes to like the fucking, cafes and little vintage shops and shit. But like, there's definitely artists, I suppose, on, and I even match with them on Hinge, but I don't often go on dates with people that are like really seriously doing it, to be honest. I don't know why that is. Maybe there's more of those people than I'm really realizing. Like, there's definitely your share of like people that are humble bragging about how they've had a New Yorker cartoon or this or that, or they work in TV. People have pictures of themselves with celebrities. But to be honest, I don't. My point being, most of the people that are on there are like professionals with jobs, and almost none of them are bohemians, I wouldn't say. And certainly not like bohemian artists. The artists that you see on there that I've seen are like either successful to the point that it's like their job, I guess, or like they're extremely just like not really even doing it or serious about it at all. Like, I'm kind of in a weird place where like I'm not really institutionally accepted or successful. I have some degree of a body of existence as far as like I'm in somewhat reputable publications, kind of sprinkled extremely, here and there. And then I have this or that linkages that sort of, I've got some place, but not, it's not my job. I'm not a professor. I'm not in the New York, like the people on Twitter who are really obnoxious. Their Twitter bio: publications in poetry, the New Yorker, the Paris Review. Those are the three, like, that. Those are the top, I would say. Those are probably the most prestigious. You want those. If you have those credentials, like, you're legit as fuck. And so, for a lot of people my age, it's been about the race to the New Yorker, more or less. And that's a huge, huge moment, if you're able to get published in the New Yorker. I haven't submitted to the New Yorker in like a decade. And the shit I submitted was not good, But they did get back to me. They did give me a rejection. So I don't know. Maybe I should. I read something the other day about Michael Robbins' poem, Alien vs. Predator or whatever. The one about Rilke, Rilke's a dick or whatever. Supposedly, Paul Muldoon took that off the slush pile and published it. And that kind of launched that guy's career, to be honest. I mean, Michael Robbins is... he's okay. I don't know. He's kind of a vampire. He's just like the ultimate hipster poet in that he just like is a stylistic vampire. He just kind of, and it's all about his record collection and music and songs, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's academic. He's not like a mimeo poet. He's not. There's kind of a rawness and kind of a nudity that he doesn't have, that all of the New York school people that I admire. Even though a few years ago, Michael Robbins shifted. His primary influence before he read James Schuyler was Frederick Seidel. And he did kind of rhymes. People like rhymes, People like that shit. His shit was aggressively kind of funny and rhyming and political. And he's also I don't know if he went to University of Chicago, but he's published in all of that kind of stuff, like New York Review of Books. I first heard about him, I think, of an article in the fucking Village Voice where he was talking about like Britney Spears or something. And that was like in 2008. And it was like, oh my God, this poet is talking about Britney Spears? A what? That's not very, like, dignified. At that time, that was when we were still in kind of hipster era. So this guy was like kind of the epitome of like Ragorama concert t-shirt from the 80s, like, Walkman. But his first book was just super Frederick Seidel. It was all rhyming. I saw him read, I think, on 14th Street in a church, because I think he's religious. I think he's actually he's cool. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just frustrated because he's like so recognized. He's published with Penguin, and he also, like I said, he's got this whole career as kind of an essayist and commentator. He's been writing in featured, his writing has been in Poetry Magazine, and like I said, Chicago Review, I think. He reviews pretty serious stuff, but I don't know. He's a Chicago guy, it seems like. He seems kind of middle brow to me, in a way. I mean, there's certain things he shares with the kind of like poets that I would say are like most representative of my generation as far as like pop culture kind of adoption. Like even Morgan Parker, Beyonce, there are more beautiful things than Beyonce, or I mean, all this shit. Ben Fama, fucking, you name it. Shai Watson, all of those kind of alt kids. Steve Rogenbuck. They all kind of adopt pop culture. Even Adam Fitzgerald and things. They all kind of adopt just the trash, the mall, the disposable plastic merchandise. Michael Robbins is kind of music, obviously, but he fetishizes the 80s kind of thing of his childhood. And that's something that Brandon Brown guy does as well. His book, Top 40. I mean, he writes about pop music a lot. I mean, I think what's different about Michael Robbins and sort of Adam Fitzgerald, Adam Fitzgerald includes a lot of that kind of like mall pop culture stuff as well. There's more of an academic bent. I'd say there's like more of a formality or something. There's more of a conventional formality. Particularly in Michael Robbins. Like, he really just, his Walkman thing, you could tell he had just read James Schuyler and was sort of lifting the approach wholesale, which is like such a vintage record store, vintage t-shirt guy thing to do. I mean, I think that's why he kind of epitomizes. It's just interesting that he's got this place kind of as a pop figure. I think it's because he rhymes, that he listens to music a lot, and I think that's something that calibrates in his poetry is sensitized to. But that's, like I said, that's more of a, I think he's got a PhD even. He's got like a PhD in some kind of literature thing from University of Chicago. His first book had already kind of come out. His first and second book had already kind of come out before he really read New York School, I think, seriously, and moved to New York and sort of became. But he's kind of celebrity adjacent. He said something about one of his friends was at brunch with Taylor Swift, and I think it was Amber Tamblyn. He's friends with Amber Tamblyn, I think, who's a poet. And I think she's friends with Taylor Swift, which is cool. I think that's cool. That Taylor Swift is hanging out with somebody who's a poet. And Taylor Swift, I think, is a poet, you know. So I don't know. It's frustrating when these figures have such stature. You know, God, I gotta stop saying but to me, does Michael Robbins deserve that much public? I mean, he's like sort of on a Patricia Lockwood level, I'd say, of like literary notoriety. Maybe Patricia Lockwood is a little more like famous since she wrote that novel or whatever, Priest Daddy. I'm not sure how famous Patricia Lockwood is, but Michael Robbins is kind of more in the line of that or Maggie Smith or something to me. He feels like middle, in the same way that the New Yorker does. I saw somebody at a post the other day, what's middlebrow? Is the New Yorker middlebrow? I think in a certain way. When I was a kid, I thought the New Yorker was like highbrow because I'm from Ohio, but to be honest, I think the New Yorker is like a Midwestern person's idea of highbrow. Like highbrow is like Yoko Ono. Highbrow is like Meredith Monk or John Giorno or John Cage or Jackson McClough. The New Yorker, or C Magazine is highbrow maybe. Gertrude Stein is highbrow maybe. Not that these distinctions necessarily mean what they once did. I think, with the internet especially, people love to mash the extremes together. Memes a lot of times are like Criterion film subtitle things or some kind of marriage of like some like Arthur childhood TV show with like Lacan theory or some shit like that, Something that's like chill and popular. Like what's that one of the girl from iCarly or whatever with like a mug of coffee and she's got this look on her face and she's like, interesting. And it's about, the meme is that it's like about her learning that she's gay or something as a kid. Like she sees, the implication being she's seeing some image of women or whatever on the computer and it's interesting. And so that's like, it's a meme about discovering that you're queer or something, but it's told through the iconography and the image of this Nickelodeon fucking kind of pop trash, lowbrow. I was fucking, oh my God, on TV today, my dad, because it's Father's Day, happy Father's Day, York Proctor, he asked me if I have a TV. That's all my parents care about is if I have a TV. And I'm like, yeah, I got a TV, but I get weird channels. I don't get NBC, CBS, ABC. I get like a Western channel. I get my weird radar channel. I get like iHeartRadio fucking channels. I get like a horror show channel. And then I get like a country music channel. So I was watching that. And I never heard of any of these fucking bands. There was a band called Boy Howdy. This fucking singer dude, he had the most awesome blonde mullet from like the ladies. I mean, these videos were incredible. You would kill to get these looks today because they're so dramatic in their video and everything's blown out and like filtered and shiny and gold and Vaseline and it's off the hook. And this dude is left-handed. He's playing one of those upright basses that's like electric, so it doesn't have a body. It's just like a fucking, like a neck with like a stick fucking out of the bottom. just like poked into the ground, and it's a bass. So I'm like, what the fuck? This country band, this dude's the singer. The guitar players are playing or something. He hasn't started yet, but he's singing the song. I'm like, what the fuck? This is a country band from like the early 90s. They all have fucking turbo mullets and just big stashes, and they must be some kind of Nashville just like total virtuosos. But this dude is, I'm like, this guy's going to sing this fucking song and sing his nuts off with like that rich baritone. They all have incredible voices. You can't be a country guy without just like an unbelievable voice. Baritone as fuck. Super masculine. I'm like, this guy's going to sing this fucking song and play this upright electric fretless double bass. Like, while he's singing the fucking song, like, this is mainstream country from like the early 90s, and this guy's playing like a electric upright double bass, like bodiless. Like, how fucking crazy. And he did it, and it rocked super. I mean, it was like post hair metal country. And there were all these bands that were really good. There was a fucking Faith Hill video. It was all about programming the women to be housewives, totally. Faith Hill's the ultimate, like, blonde trophy wife, and the whole song is about how she had to put her dreams aside to, like, take care of her husband and shit while he works. You know, this is the 90s. We've come a long way from then, but it's all about, like, how she just has to, like, keep going and, you know, be strong, and, like, she had to put her dreams aside and blah, 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 but she's not happy, but it's like, god damn, is this what women are going through? Then there was this fucking Kenny Rogers song. I mean, it really was amazing. It was like one great, these videos are all like little movies. They all have fucking like this Faith Hill video had like a beginning. They have an oil well. She's got this husband, and it's like, come on, it's Faith Hill. Her husband looked like a fucking pud. It's like, I mean, Tim McGraw is pretty cool. This was pre-Tim McGraw, but that's the best they could do for Faith Hill. I mean, it's all about how she had to, like, stay on the treadmill and shit to, like, you know, stay in shape for her husband and shit. Just horrible. And they hit oil. It's kind of like Giant. It was kind of like Giant. But it was just ludicrous. I mean, the whole plot of it, there was bad acting and just, like, them screaming at each other. Like, pretend fight scenes. Like, every music video has pretend fight scenes where the actors are just, like, screaming at each other. Then there was this Kenny Rogers video right after that was super loving. And all about how he was going to give her a rose. Give his wife a rose. You know, and treat her special and shit. So I'm thinking, okay, this is like a... I don't have cable. This is just like a regular channel on fucking TV. I'm thinking this is for, like, women who are at home watching this, who are into country music. I don't know. It's like programming them to, like, be housewives and, like, be comfortable with their husband, you know, being at work and, at least that's how they were still patterning people in the 90s when these videos were on. Now they've been repackaged for this, like, it's like iHeart Country or some shit channel. And the last video that they played, it really climaxed. It was amazing. The last video. So it went Faith Hill, Kenny Rogers. First it started out with, like I said, all these country music people you just never even heard of, but they were pretty good. It's 50-50. There's this one guy. Things are different today. You know, you got to split it 50-50 with the woman. That was all shot in New York, which I thought was kind of interesting. A lot of these videos were shot in New York, which I thought was weird. Because they actually had, like, video production value. For, like, 90s. They still had, you know, at that point it was still like, wow, these people are making a video. They've got, like, expensive cameras and, like, kind of a look. And they spent a lot of time editing it and shit. They must have flown these people from Nashville to shoot the video in New York, because they shot it, like, around here, actually. That's why I started watching them, like, oh, they're on 8th Avenue. They shot this, like, a block from my house. This country music video from the 90s. With some fucking person I ever heard of. It's 50-50. These songs are all pretty good. They're all talented people, but they just are not that famous. But so then they build into Faith Hill, then Kenny Rogers, and he's great. And then finally they hit you with fucking the all-time classic, Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart. And holy shit, that song just rocks so hard. It's crazy. That song is just, it's huge. It's massively, I mean, it changed the culture. And Billy Ray Cyrus has been a recurring, important cultural figure. You know, he's lasted. You thought he was just this fucking joke. It was sort of Clinton era. He had kind of a Clinton quality, that kind of like rehash of Elvis, kind of Southern Bubba. He kind of felt like Roger Clinton. He felt like he could have been Bill Clinton's brother or something. He just has the most awesome mullet. It's just so incredibly majestic. Just utterly. And he's a great looking dude. I mean, Billy Ray Cyrus, Jesus Christ. Great singer. Big guy, tall, great looking guy. Fucking. But so he had Achy Breaky Heart. And that song was massive. I mean, it was like the Macarena or some shit. I mean, it was fucking... I hated it, I think, when it came out. I heard the people that recorded it originally, they objected to the phrase achy breaky. Which is weird, because it is kind of... I don't know. It totally makes a song. But it's also like... I don't know. It is kind of like a achy breaky heart. It's like a novelty... Like, the impression that you got was Billy Ray Cyrus was a one-hit wonder. He's going to go away. That's it. We'll never hear from him again. That song was so fucking bad. But, like, captured the nation's attention. He'll be kind of a joke, maybe, for the rest of our lives. Billy Ray Cyrus. Remember him? Fucking Achy Breaky Heart. Jesus Christ. What were we thinking? That was like the Macarena. It's just something that caught fire. We don't know why. It's 2 chords. It's A&E. It's a masterpiece. I was reading the Wikipedia article. The guy that wrote it said he was just screwing around on a drum machine and a guitar. He was a total amateur songwriter, and he came up with this fucking song. I think that is amazing. He came up with Achy Breaky Heart. It kind of sounds like that. It sounds like, I just don't think you'd understand. Like, that dude is just, it comes from common folk. You can tell. That is from, like, The Soil, that song. It might blow up and kill this man. Like, what a strange fucking lyric. It might blow up and kill this man? What the fuck? Even as a kid, I couldn't believe that was a lyric. But it's so great. Don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, I just don't think you'd understand. It's awesome, man. It's absolutely a massive song. And if you tell my heart, my achy breaky heart, it just might blow up and kill this man. Like, how absurd. His heart's going to explode. Damn, from so much aching and breaking. Masterpiece. Utter masterpiece. So anyway, we thought Billy Cyrus would go away. Didn't happen. He was on, I remember 18 Wheels of Justice. I think that was on TNN even. That was before Spike TV, which he played a fucking... Because he's a Christian. He's, like, religious. He came up in the church. He's from some fucking, like, rural part of Tennessee or something. Like, he is, like, a church fucking, you know... And he's cool. I like Billy Ray Cyrus, man. I don't know that much about him, but even though he's poisoned our culture with his absolute novelty, he's kind of, like I said, he's kind of an Elvis... post-Swayze. So he was on 18 Wheels of Justice, which is not really talked about that much in his Wikipedia page, which I think is a mistake because it looks excellent. Then he was on some show called Doc, which is about a Montana doctor moving to New York, which I think Michael Cera did a guest spot on. And I'm very curious about this show. I really want to see it now. I guess it was like a Christian show, so it's probably like Seventh Heaven-ish. It kind of looks like Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman or something. I really want to see this show, Doc. It kind of looks a little bit like Thunder in Paradise quality, but it's in New York, so I gotta see Billy Ray Cyrus in New York. Now that I'm like getting into, that I'm hooked on Billy Ray Cyrus. So my dad, I don't know. This is why I turned the TV on, because my dad asked me. He's like, "You watching TV?" He meant was I watching the U.S. Open, but I couldn't get the U.S. Open. I could get country music, brainwashing television. Part of the military-industrial complex, trying to brainwash people with white bread Christian values. Billy Ray Cyrus. And he kind of straddles that line. You know, it used to be about morals and faithfulness, but with Miley Cyrus, it's not about that anymore. It's about hedonism and just, I don't know, mortal sin and just not letting go, letting your ego drive you mad, and driving the world to suicide because you can't admit that you have a problem. American surplus and exceptionalism gone berserk. Total narcissism, total... So, okay, then he was on this doc show, and then, of course, we all know him from fucking mid-career, his mid-career masterpiece, Hannah Montana, where he played more or less a fictional version of himself, which I don't really know shit about. I didn't really see it, but, I mean, obviously a cultural sensation. They brainwashed an entire generation of young people with this to love and endear themselves to... I mean, all the Disney products are successful. Miley. I mean, it's Miley. She's one of the generational, I would say, defining. I think when she first came out, there was some sense that maybe she was, like I said, kind of a... I mean, they come from country. They come from, like, the kind of... the bastard part of the culture. Disney Channel. The kind of... I don't know, the carnival side of things. The underbelly, the underclass. Tennessee. Even Taylor Swift. I was thinking about this, how Taylor Swift just really just used country. Like, does she even pretend to be country anymore? Like, she just kind of used that audience to catapult herself to, like, a more of a pop kind of platform. Does she even, like... I mean... considering that country is so much about, like I was on this fucking channel, this country channel, this guy had a song, "What happens in the barn stays in the barn." I almost couldn't believe it. It was almost too country. Like, do people actually say that out in the country? What happens in the barn stays in the barn? Like, are people just getting down in the fucking barn that I don't know about? I mean, I suppose they are, but it was a little too country, I'd say. And Taylor Swift definitely ain't that country. As far as I can tell, she hasn't even tried to maintain her country status since about, you know, Love Story. I mean, her first album was kind of country with, like, Tim McGraw and, what's that song? She put out, like, a country version and, like, a rock version. The country version had, like, banjos and shit. And the rock version just sounded like Disney. It had, like, very arena rock, electric. What is her record label? Big Machine or whatever. Nashville military industrial complex. Christian brainwashing. The Fox News of music. But she kind of adapted, and her audience did too. I think these young women that maybe were from rural areas or Walmart parts of the country, they moved to the city and they kind of became cosmopolitan pop. They identified maybe less with being country. They're sophisticated, smart, professional women. They're still Swifties, but they live in gentrified fucking neighborhoods where they have gourmet ice cream and shit for $7 a cone. So anyway, who the fuck was I talking about before Taylor Swift? How did I start talking about Taylor Swift? She's a New York gentrifier, an outsider, hillbilly, fucking infiltrator. I hope to be friends. She lived on Cornelia Street, so she's a total beatnik poet. Just like Diane DePrima and Jack Michelin and all of us. She's one of us. T Swift. I really am waiting to collaborate. I really think we could make an amazing masterpiece. Fuck this Bon Iver shit and fucking Jack Antonoff. Let Frankly Fabulous produce the next Taylor Swift album. We could do like a solo or like a duets album. We could write it together, like fucking Johnny Cash and June. Frankly Fabulous and Taylor Swift could be the new Johnny Cash and June Carter. That's my new dream. My solstice wish is cast. Let it be. Let it happen. Let it manifest. I'm ready to be bi-coastal. We can have my place in New York, and we'll have your mansion in Beverly Hills. And we'll play gigs at the Echoplex. And we'll read our poetry at Beyond Baroque. And on the Lower East Side. And we'll travel the land reading our poetry. And we'll convert people back to being human beings instead of being zombies. Hey, Taylor Swift, you have a whole cult of people that will... They're begging for you to bring them back to life. And I know you want to. I think she's a spiritual poet. She's a Anglo-American poetess that I dig. Ted Jones, 1959. To Taylor Swift, an Anglo-American poetess that I dig. She needs more authenticity. She's surrounded by fake people. She's too competitive. All these women are too competitive. They're just like, they need to slum it a little bit. They need some more interesting, I don't know. I don't know what their lives are like. I don't know why they make the decisions they make. I'm baffled. It's not easy to even get in the same circumstances as them. You know? Not to be a creep about it, but I rarely encounter women that, you know, that it would even be natural to talk to. It seems like they just don't want you to talk to them ever. Like, that kind of sucks. I don't know what they think it's like for us, but it's depressing, and it's just a drought all the time. It's like going through the desert all the time. Every once in a while you get a little drink of water, but how the fuck did I start talking about Taylor Swift? I was talking about somebody else, right? Lyrics or something. Well, I also wanted to read. Should I just read some shit? These are my my immediate notes. These things just happened to me. Yeah, so I don't know. I was in Niagara, and it was just packed. And I was in there probably for an hour and a half or something. Nobody's wearing any masks. I didn't see a lot of like connection happening. Maybe I'm in the wrong places. Maybe I need to party in Brooklyn. The people in Manhattan are so fucking bland. I mean, maybe all the hedonism is happening in Bushwick. Not in the meatpacking district. June 19th, Fireplace. My happy place, Bleecker Park. Just a sitcom about this, the different people who come here. Location sitcom like Cheers, WKRP, or The Office. I could film it Panic and Needle Park, only without the panic and needle. So my idea here was like, I had, you know, I love this Bleecker Park, which is this wonderful park between Bank and West 11th on Bleecker. It's just my favorite place on earth. And I feel like it could be a sitcom. You know, because there's all these location-based sitcoms like The Office or Cheers. Cheers, the whole sitcom is just, it's a bar. Becker, it's like the fucking lunch counter. That's the whole fucking show. A lot of them. News Radio, the fucking news station. It's just a location-based thing. So I thought, well, have they ever done a park? I don't know. You could have a lot of different scenes there. It could be more like a concept show, maybe. Like a concept sitcom where it's like it wouldn't necessarily have to be some like recurring characters or situations even. it's because it's a public place, so theoretically anybody could pass through there. I mean, you could have the maintenance people or superintendents or whoever, you know, parks department. Those could be recurring characters, or maybe community people that take care of the park, or, you know, are on the fucking trustees or whatever that might be. And then just the people who use it, all the various uses that they have for it, you know. People come in to smoke. People come in to eat lunch. There's a lot of Grubhub bicyclists that sit there kind of on their break. So I think they're from Africa, maybe. You know, they all have like the Grubhub red fucking backpack thing, and they all have those like zip motorbike. You know, you have young pothead people. You have homeless people late at night. You have, you know, you could just do a show about all the different people that come through the park. You know, it would be that location. I don't know. It could be like a poetic sitcom. You could have all the seasons. It's just such a beautiful situation. It's conversational, just sitting on a park bench, nature, trees. It's just a nice setting. Wind blowing through the trees. There's like a playground maybe. I don't know. The playground's kind of annoying, the kids and stuff. Maybe not have that part of it. But it's, you know, it'd almost be like a zen. It's like a haiku sitcom. It would just be kind of about the... But I don't know. You see weird shit on the streets. So I'm sitting in my favorite park on... my other favorite park on Charles and 7th Avenue South in Waverly. There's this beautiful little triangle park right there with these wonderful patio chairs and tables. So it's like a patio, except you don't have to pay. You can just sit there, and there's benches. And I'm watching these two guys across the street. I think there's like a barber shop. It's right across from that FedEx or whatever that I like. West 4th is right there. And there's these two guys, and I can't tell if they're brothers or if they're like in a couple or what. They're both kind of probably in their 50s, and they're kind of like stocky, you know. They're well dressed. They're probably like older gay men. And the one guy is just like being pushed to his emotional extreme. He's like screaming, and like there's like this kind of like teary screaming, crying in his voice. I mean, you see this kind of shit on the street in New York a lot, to be honest. Just people like at their wits' end. People arguing, people breaking up, couples fighting, women crying, men not knowing what the fuck to do, people yelling at each other. I see this a lot recently. And last night, so I'm sitting there, and I'm watching these two guys, and the one guy is just like screaming. I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? Like, is this guy gonna like beat the shit out of him? Like, somebody is gonna get punched. I've seen a few confrontations like this recently. The other day, and I'm like, this guy's definitely gonna punch this guy. Like, there's no way. He's just like, he's not stopping. He's just screaming his fucking head off. The other day, I'm laying in bed, and I hear this fucking fighting out the window. I'm like, what the fuck is this? These two guys are just like screaming at each other, and neither one of them is backing down. I'm just thinking, there's no way these guys aren't going to fight. Like, neither one of them is backing down. I can't tell what the fuck they're screaming about. And I look out the window, and there's a black guy, and he's standing out here. There's this construction site. There's a trailer right here. There's a fucking fire hydrant, and then there's like a gate to this playground. The construction is the school. They're working on this school, and there's a playground out. And so, like, when school lets out, all these construction workers, like, drive their cars into the playground to park them. That's like they use it as a parking lot. I don't know. It's kind of strange, but that's what they do. Because they work, you know, from like 2 or 3 or 4 to like at night. And all their cars are parked in the fucking playground. And so the way they get in, it's kind of this narrow gate, like I said, between the trailer and the fucking hydrant. And this guy is just standing there, and he's got a scooter, and he's not moving. And these guys are just screaming at him, like, get the fuck out of here, like, blah, blah, blah. And this goes on. They're going on for like 10, 20, I don't even know how long. It went on for a long time. And all these construction guys are just like pacing around like, what the fuck are we going to do? We can't get this guy to move. Like, I thought for sure they were going to fight. You know, I'm like, this guy's not backing down. They're not backing down. The guy's not moving. I don't know what the fuck they're fighting about, but like, they're definitely, somebody's going to get punched. And eventually, one of the construction guys was kind of nice about it and was polite to him. And the guy was like, that's all I wanted was for you to be nice. And so the guy was nice about it, and the guy finally left. And then the construction workers were just assholes about it. They all kind of said, they were like, this fucking, you know, like it was fucking Goodfellas or something. So there's just been a lot of shit like that. These really, watching these intense confrontations. So last night, these two guys are like, you know, the one guy's like, screaming, and, you know, his voice is like, he just sounds like emotionally, the dam has burst forth, you know. And that's kind of a beautiful place to be, but it could have just been that he was, I don't know, maybe he has some kind of mental unbalance or something, I don't know. But I don't know how it happened, but the dude ended up with his shirt off. So his shirt's off, and he's screaming at the guy, and I'm thinking, there's no way these guys aren't going to fight. Like, he's screaming right in the guy's face, he's got him pinned against the wall, like what the fuck is going on here? And I'm just sitting there watching it, and the guy started to, I don't remember what happened, but he started to cross 7th Avenue towards me, sort of, so that's when I left. I didn't really want to get near the guy with his shirt off who was going crazy. And, I don't know, I wish that I had my camera so I could have filmed some of this shit. So I went to Niagara, and it was just wall-to-wall people. I danced to Madonna and shit. Everybody was having a good time. But I'm still a little bit weary to engage with people, to be honest. I stayed for probably about an hour and a half or 2 hours, which, I don't know, maybe that wasn't smart, considering we're still in a pandemic. I mean, it was packed. There were hundreds of people in that place. And I had a good time. I wanted to go out and be with people and dance and stuff, because I love doing that, even though it is kind of a lonely, and it never pays off. You never really actually meet hardly anybody doing that. Especially now, because I'm just not like these people. You know, I don't know. This is just this is such a large part of my adult life has been spent in these situations where, like, I'm on a dance floor in a bar with a bunch of frat bros and women that, like, I can't relate to. Even, it's like, but how did I get here? Why am I here? Why am I not in a situation that's more like makes sense for me? How did this happen? This is like the joke of my life, is just to be tortured by this hell where all these frat bros are hooking up with these women, and I'm just like this kind of weird lonely guy who nobody liked my fucking Don Yorty video on Facebook at all. Making poetry videos that are just super bombs. Probably the worst poet alive. I'm proud of it. I'm ready for my weekly show in New York. I'm ready to give this city some character and some personality. I'm ready to set it up. 12:34 in the a.m. It's Frankly Fabulous coming to you. So, I don't know. Like I said, I was there for about an hour or 2 hours, and I left because I'm still a little wary of the pandemic. And these people, they're all, I don't know. I'm sure they're not really they're probably all vaccinated, I'd say. But they're frat bros and shit. They don't think they're in the high-risk category, so I don't think they're being that cautious about it. They're type A. Everybody in Manhattan is like super accomplished, super professional. Drives me insane. I'm a deranged fuck up. So yeah, that's my sitcom idea. If I ever get an iPhone, I'm going to film it. Just, just interview different people in the park. Do a little documentary about the park. These are the people that come to the park. And it's conversational. Yeah, the Duck Variations, that's the David Mamet play, right? I guess it's the Zoo Story, same thing. It's two guys on a park bench. It's just like the classic. I think that's such a New York thing. That's like such a New York scene, two guys on a park bench. Columbus, Ohio, I wasn't going to park benches quite as much. Like New York, you kind of need to go to a park bench sometimes. It's like your porch. It's like your armchair. I just love it. I love going to Bleecker Park and just sitting people watching. It's just the best. And so the documentary could be about the park and just interview different people that come to the park. Talk to them for 10 minutes. I just need a camera. I need to be putting this shit on TV. Lights up interchangeably with me, trading flint sparks, sitting looking as far away as possible. Drizzle under the Whitney when the High Line stops. Ariana Rines was only 24 or 25 when she wrote Coeur d'Alene, much younger than I'd guessed. My original guess was 1981, but I would have believed maybe late 70s. Yeah, I've been thinking about that book, Coeur d'Alene. I want to read that. That's kind of, I don't know. It's just so, it feels just like so plain spoken and kind of relaxed and easy, but it's also just like so. I mean, that book came out in 2007. When I was reading it, because I've been kind of, grazing on my books and going over stuff. I've been reading pretty well recently. I was thinking, okay, this book probably came out 2010s at some point. She was probably 30 when it came out. And then, I was like, when was she born? Probably 81. Probably came out 2011 or something. Maybe she was born in the I don't know. Sometimes people are older than you might expect. Like Ben Lerner, I think he was born in the late 70s. Part of me is thinking, okay, Ariana Rines and Ben Lerner are kind of like the top of their age group. But then, so I look up her Wikipedia. She was born in 1982. That book came out in 2007. In a way, I feel like Coeur d'Alene is what all of the other poets have been writing. At least, like, it's got the pop culture stuff mixed with, like, the theory, like the high and low. It's got the skinny column kind of conversational, but very smart and very, like, composed and poetic, but sort of, like, invisibly so. The technique is, like, it's so... In fact, I don't know. It's sort of a long poem, and it's a romantic poem. I sort of maybe like it better than Mercury or the Sand Book and Mercury. The books are so complex. It's all these different sections, and they're long and just like these amazing. I mean, they're amazing. But Coeur d'Alene is just sort of like real life. It's about sex. It's about watching DVDs on your laptop. It's about bataille. It's about all of it. Nature. And it's so smart and it's so funny and it's so relatable. And the technique, like I said, is just, I'm trying to, I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to rebuild my swing. I got to write in this century. Is Coeur d'Alene this century? I don't know. I guess in a certain way it's kind of 20th century. What's 21st century? I mean, that's one reason why I want to sound like a computer. Is my oral novel piece, that might be the most 21st century thing I have. My YouTube transcription. Is Ben Fama 21st century? Who are the first poets of the 21st century? Flarf is Flarf. To me, to some degree, the 21st century has got to be about, like, computers, right? And computer composition and AI. That's one reason why I started to incorporate like bots, like that poet tweet thing. The way that bots wrote in sort of mangled syntax and just, but it was amazing. They were just awesome effects. Way better than human writing. But totally like just slammed together and awesome non sequiturs. Radical non sequiturs. But so that's when my style became more disjointed and less kind of sewn together grammatically. That's when I became more subjective, I would say, as far as whatever effort in what direction I was writing from or towards. Now it's more about my own process and my own point of view and the multitudes of that, whatever direction, whatever tense, whatever pronoun, whatever address my writing comes in, I just accept that. And so that kind of fragment, I mean, that's 20th century. That's junk heap of images. That's more or less like a T.S. Eliot collage, cubist. But what's 21st century? What's the technique? I mean, is my oral novel, is Kenneth Goldsmith, see the fucking first poet of the 21st century? That's sort of, I mean, I'm in conversation with this post-conceptualist. I don't have that much recent literature. That's one reason my fucking style is so old-fashioned. You know, even Charles Olson and the new American poetry is a new thing to me. Let alone, like, forget about new narrative and stuff. That stuff, I can't even get my hands on those books. I mean, I have the Dodie Bellamy book, and I love it. I'd love to get that Kevin Killian book. To me, I mean, that's what Ron Silliman says in his, I've been looking at his book, The New Sentence, which was written in the 80s. And he kind of says the new sentence has started to exist in these new narrative writers in San Francisco. I haven't explored that much, but I'd like to read more of those writers, Bruce Boone and Kevin Killian and Dodie Bellamy. I don't know who else you would. Robert Glick, is he? I'm not that familiar. Kathy Acker, maybe. So I'm trying to get most of my friends who are hip read Samuel R. Delany. He's kind of like maybe held in the highest regard, I would say. And speculative fiction, oh man. So this reading Friday night, my favorite thing that I saw was this thing called Future Host. They were awesome. It was two girls who, I don't know if they were in grad school or what, but they read a piece of speculative fiction about, I don't know, I think it was kind of about the future. It was unbelievably great. I loved it. I like that stuff. I would love to learn more about it. I ordered this Robert Fritterman book that I'm really excited about, Metropolis. You know, I would like to incorporate more kind of contemporary technique. I don't know, what I'm doing does feel contemporary in it, like it's brevity, it's kind of channel surfingness, it's short attention span. I'm trying to capture things as they're actually said, but I don't know if I actually am. I don't know if I talk the way that people talk now. You know, I'm old-fashioned. I'm dad rock. So, you know, somebody like Shai Watson can really write in a way that's cool and young people think is cool. Me, I sound like an old fogey. I sound like a hippie. Boring. Uncool, prattling on. So, trying to reinvent myself. I mean, the New York school techniques, second, third, fourth generation, you see the beginnings of language poetry and things like Bill Berkson or Burnett Mayer or Clark Coolidge, but they use it in a way that's more abstract, or I don't know, it has more richness of life or something. There's kind of more juice, or like the plasticity is more like aesthetically fun and pleasing. Language poetry, even though I like it, does seem a little bit like drained of. The thing that I like about the New York school is it's abstract and sort of languagey or material, but it's also you feel the realism and you feel the real life. So they're writing about life, but they're doing it in a way where it's not just plain spoken realism. It's sort of encoded, but in kind of a cartoonish poetry that is that 20th century. I don't know that I see lineages from the 21st century taking up where those things left off that much. Maybe in some ways, like things like Joe Travalo or even Ted Berrigan feel sort of lost, maybe, in as technique. They're not as prevalent as they should be. I mean, Ted Berrigan should be like Walt Whitman. People should read and think about Ted Berrigan like Walt Whitman, I think. He's Whitman in black. And the sort of immediacy in the chronological dispatches, almost the occasional nature, his postcard pieces and his later work, it's sort of in transit, in present tense, implying a whole life of poetry and magic, which is as much sort of an extension of the art. And in the same way that like a performance piece by a downtown artist, a performance artist, or a fine artist, a gallery artist, is this 24/7, 365 thing where they live it and they chart their concept of it and their pitch and their that's not expressed or overt, but like you could read it in that way, because Ted Berrigan is living it 24/7. That is his work, that is his experience, even though it lives on the page after and his life is preserved through these poems. You can read the story of his life through his work, absolutely. It is autobiographical, but in an abstract way, in a painterly way. There's colors, there's landscapes, there's thoughts, there's events, there's characters, there's people, there's emotions. But it's not always expressly told, it's not always literally told or on the nose. Sometimes it is. Southampton, or wherever he lived, but the story's there. I think that's cool. I don't know. I don't see people, certain of the Poetry Project people, You know, like I was reading Stacy Samasik's journal pieces. Those were the first times I'd looked at those since probably 2018 or 19, and those were hugely influential. She talks about Rex Roth in there, and A Year from Today doesn't have dates in it. I think that's adds to the strength of it, because you feel the seasons, you feel the days, and it's kind of more poetic, the fact that it's not delineated. My stuff has dates in it. It's a calendar. I like that. I don't know why. Having the dates and times. That's one of my favorite parts. That's a Ted Berrigan Sonnets thing. I'm not sure why. Or if, Frank O'Hara was talking about train times, I think, in his work, more so. Does he refer to time for no reason? I think it's usually the 419 to Northampton or whatever it is. Whereas Ted Berrigan just kind of, he'll throw in the time to just kind of locate it in the present and let you know that it's real, and tell you that he's writing the poem and he's seeing his, kitchen stove clock or whatever. I don't know. That's pinpointing it in the life, the exact moment in the story. The clock, the Christian Marclay thing, time, I don't know, mortality once again, and measuring it. It's also like you're locating it in the day. Times feel like they have poetic values to me. Like when he says 5:15 a.m., a lot of his stuff is like taking place in the early morning. Fucked till 7. It's like, damn, these early morning hours in New York, that's a total mood. 9:54 p.m., that has a specific poetic value to me. The letters, the color of the sky, the way it's situated in the sort of dramatic arc of the day line. What time are you going to go to sleep? The day's sort of, climaxing or kind of over by that point. Or whatever time it is, 12:34, the clocks, that was one thing, the mystical value, the sort of lucky numerics, that's part of it as well. The numerology. So, I don't know, what does it mean to write in the 21st century? I think Edwin Torres is an incredible poet to read, who feels very futuristic to me. Monica de la Torre's book feels like incredibly ahead of its time. C.A. Conrad's rituals and things, I think, are incredible. And definitely the way that they organize their lines on the page is like become so revolutionary and influential. But the younger writers too. I mean, so this writer the other day, future host, so good. I mean, it was all good. That series you just can't go wrong with. It's just like, that's the best series in New York that's not something that's been around forever. That's like the best independently curated thing, I'd say. That's like public and regular, and like you just can't go wrong. You're going to hear something really groundbreaking and smart every time. I'm going to zoom in real fast. Don't tell my heart If you tell my heart, I could break it hard. It might blow up and kill this man. Okay, what else? This is my weekend recap. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I really. Let me read some more shit. The Leafy Village. I've been doing just kind of like Seder dances all around the village. This new weed I've got. So I had to re-up. I ordered this stuff because of what I read. I just read the description. They didn't have the stuff that I wanted to get. So I had to choose, and so I Googled this stuff, and it's called, I am going to say the name, it's called Durban Poison, which is kind of a hardcore name and not really that appealing sounding. And so I just Googled it just to see what it was about. They didn't have that many options at my price point. So it said all of the effects that it described sounded great to me. It said it was cerebral, but it was euphoric. It just made you feel great, and it made you feel like you could just. It said if you wanted to have, if you wanted to go to a party and have relaxed conversation with smart people, this is the weed you want. So I thought, oh yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. It's creative. They said it was, another person said it was like the espresso of weed, or like it just, they said it made you like get up and want to do things. So I thought, okay, yeah, this is great, because the stuff I had, it's just been making me really sleepy. And so like I go out and I'm just like starting to pass out because I'm just like, it just makes me really drowsy. So I wanted something different, and this sounded good even though the name was like, I don't know, kind of, it seemed like maybe it was not a good sign or something. But then, so I'm reading about the taste, and like the taste, I forget what it said, but it's all kind of like, it wasn't like blueberries and good shit. It was all like kind of gnarly shit. But I don't know, for some reason, I just trusted. I read a bunch of reviews of a bunch of stuff, descriptions. I don't really want to think about this. I don't want to think about what strain. But it does seem to make a difference, and like, I wanted to get something that was going to inspire and help me get shit done rather than like make me tired and like passive, which this weed, it's not that bad, but it kind of does that. The stuff I had, you know. So I buy this stuff, you know, the Durban Poison. I ordered it. What the fuck? And it does kind of taste gnarly. I don't know. It's like it's kind of peppery, and like it is a little bit like hot and mouthy or whatever. It's like a more of like a savory kind of taste or something. But I love it. I think I've been doing these Seder dances. I haven't done this yet until I got this Durban Poison. So I'm walking around the village, you know, on Perry Street or whatever, and it's just beautiful. Some of those streets are so dark at night, and the trees. The thing that's different about the village is the trees arch over the street. The Leafy Village, the trees are just so luscious and shadowy, and just like they arch over you, they enclose you, they shroud you. And so I want to live deep in the heart of this. Like I said, I found my Ted Jones fucking to an Anglo-American poetess that I dig. Inscribed Edna St. Vincent Millay. So I'm in the heart of the village. It's Saturday night. I've got my new Durban Poison. I'm feeling great, and I just broke out into dance. Why not? I just danced down the street into my ballet, kind of Seder, kicking my legs, hoofing it, plie, leap, spin, kick, tiptoe. I want to bring that energy back to the village, that Cherry Lane abstract. I've wanted to do abstract movements. Okay, here's a story I wanted to tell. I don't know if I told this already on the show, but I wrote about it in here. Maybe I should just read it. Let me just read this real fast, and then I'll go back. Okay. Woman walking her dog, I think a terrier, she in a raincoat and mask. It rainy, misty, 11 p.m. Sunday night in Bleecker Park, which is like a Parisian square with lampposts, gravel, and cropped trees. Misty light in a mask and raincoat, she danced abstract like a movement piece while walking her dog, turning it into art, animating the kinetosphere, wafting through and painting with her energy. I think it was Laurie Anderson, but I'm not sure. Had that vibe. Funny kind of mind, but smart and blank. Non-emotional Fluxus clowning. Spiky hair, but numb charm. Like silent film of Bauhaus. It was a beautiful thing to see. This ritualized chore activated by performance, which is really just one song to the gods. So I was in Bleecker Park, I think it was last Sunday or a couple Sundays ago, and I'm sitting there, and it's kind of rainy, misty, and in the lamp lights, it's kind of misty, you know, those balls of mist kind of in the light. And I'm sitting there, you know, I just like to sit there at night. It's just beautiful. Stillness, quiet, meditation, beautiful. And this woman is walking her dog. Like I said, I think it's a terrier or something, but she's doing this amazing, like it's almost like she's the sneak, you know, or like it's like a private dance piece. She's kind of like kicking her legs and like doing like, and she's going all around this. It's this beautiful little square, like I say, with lampposts and cropped trees and that kind of gravelly European thing that they do, you know, like in Jardin des Plantes or whatever the fuck it is in Paris. I can't remember. Luxembourg Garden. They have that like gravelly surface to the park. And so I'm sitting on the bench watching this, and she's doing this amazing, beautiful like movement. She may have been a dancer from Westbeth or something. Westbeth is not too far from there. But like I said, it kind of looked like Laurie Anderson. She had that vibe. Had like kind of a short spiky hair thing, and like she was just, it was so amazing. It was magic, you know, this Sunday night. And I've seen, New York has been so beautiful this summer. If for nothing else than that, just stumbling through this gallery of just things that you, like tonight, okay, I was walking back through meatpacking, and I see this crowd gathered, and I thought it was like a line to get into a club. So I walk over, and there's a stripper in the fucking window on a pole. Somebody's pole dancing. And they're like, you know, pole dancing has become like this fitness thing and a totally artistic expression. You know, that's kind of what this book is about sex work and being a stripper and whatnot. And so it says lust on the side. And I think it's like a 7 deadly sins thing, but it's like a glass storefront window on the street in Meatpacking. I think it's Little West 12th or something like that. It says lust on the side. And this stripper is in platform shoes and like spinning around the pole and shit. And they're just like super jacked. They come off the pole and they got like a 6-pack and like, you know, fucking big muscular arms and shit. And this whole crowd of people is watching, you know, this pole dancing. And I realize they've all got headphones on. Everybody's like listening to some kind of headphones. So it's some kind of, I don't know, some kind of theater thing or something. But that's what New York has been like. Even though I'm not really going to places that much, and I don't even get on the train hardly. I mostly just walk around Manhattan. I sort of stumble on all these different street performances. Like I said, this guy's screaming, people fighting each other. You know, real life drama, real life theater. The gallery of that. But then also that, I don't know, I hope New York keeps that up. You know, the outdoor performance thing, even as things return indoors. This woman doing this dance at midnight in this square. It was just such a beautiful. I would have filmed that, you know, if I had a camera, but it was like a private, and it was just a wonderful modern dance. You could tell she had training in that. It was gentle and kind of curious, and it's the magic of New York. The Leafy Village. So that's what I was inspired by her. The fact she was like walking her dog and doing this dance. She'd like pick her dog up and then she'd spin around, then she'd put it back down, she'd like kick. It was amazing. It was, it was like a musical in a movie, except there was no music, and it was like being performed by like Meredith Monk or something. It was just like funny and kind of quirky. So when I was walking down Perry Street and shit, I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do a little funny dance or whatever in honor of the gods. That's what I say, singing to the gods. I need to make my poetry mean more. Just one song to the gods. That's what my dance is. The Leafy Village. I think that was Billy Eichner walking his dog. Real life people are hotter than porn stars or models. They aren't having sex with me either. Anyone cool or good looking's life basically centers around Instagram. Axioms from Matt Proctor's diary. I can't even get this girl who won't have sex to me to not have sex with me. I have no power as an artist, so I just do life. Frank O'Hara lunch poems in window of Bookmark, the Marc Jacobs bookstore on Bleecker and West 11th. I am the Pope of Greenwich Village. I am Le Petit Prince du Greenwich Village. Bob is 6'8", rides hoverboard, lives in West Village, Hudson Street, Jane Jacobs' apartment. Models look up to him, eats at Tartine, and yet tried to kill himself. Had a musical that was really starting to go places before COVID. Story of my life. That's something I heard a guy say on the street when I was in front of Hart Crane's house. He said he was, he wrote musicals, and he had a musical that was really starting to go places, and then COVID happened. Story of my life, the guy says. Maybe Lena Dunham lives in Hart Crane's houses, 4th and 45 Grove. Flamboyant copper light, honeyed like kerosene in its storefronts. After party, men without women. Your head's bleeding. Looking for her keys in her purse for a long time. 2 girls go into her building. Are they going to have sex? Owsla, Axel, Birch, Miriam. Number 2 guess out. Money carbon. Adjust pain sorbo. Women look at me like I'm crazy. One of us or the other always cross the street. Hot off the press. Boys misbehaving in church. Turning it into more uneventful poetry. Beautiful people walk by. They don't know me. I don't recognize the buildings. Never stand still in the maelstrom of propulsion that pumps us continually like a heart its blood through city sidewalks. Nympho Satyr, gallivanting dance, dark Charles Grove. These buildings the same age but different. Petite, peaceful, amiable, cozy, enchanting. I want to see the video. A group of witches so quiet as they walk by, feeling my energy, which is good. It is they who are low vibration, not I. And then here's the Lori poem, Dog Pee. Should I read it again? Woman walking her dog, I think a terrier. She in raincoat and mask. It rainy, misty 11 p.m. Sunday night in Bleecker Park, which is like a Parisian square, with lampposts, gravel, and cropped trees. Misty light in a mask and raincoat, she danced abstract like a movement piece while walking her dog, turning it into art, animating the kinesphere, wafting through and painting with her energy. I think it was Laurie Anderson, but I'm not sure. Had that vibe, funny kind of mind, but smart and blank. Non-emotional Fluxus clowning. Spiky hair, but numb charm like silent film of Bauhaus. It was a beautiful thing to see, this ritualized chore activated by performance, which is really just one song to the gods. Need to get a job just so I can have sex. Sex is a slow drip. Think she got a little freaked how fast I texted her back. It was like 6 minutes. And this guy sits next to me in public, smelling like piss and sweat. Should I walk away? I love the most the smell of love. The backseat doors, exit wounds, upstanding on rooftops. I piss on the friend's apartment building. Guy doing blow in line for Niagara. What do you do when you go out? You just stare at people, fighting your anxiety. The high of that. 620 Problem Child. They've castrated the waterfront. The other thing that happened is I'm walking down at the end of the night. So I stopped and I just sat on the patio of the Waverly Inn because it's like a famous, and their patio furniture is like just kind of locked up outside. They've got the outdoor dining. And so the chairs are there. I mean, they're like locked in one of those cable locks, but I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking sit in this. It's a nice place. I can just smoke and sit on the patio and just see what it's like to sit on the patio at the Waverly Inn. I'll probably never eat there. I don't know. Or like, let me just get used to this energy psychically. I've been walking up to this place and staring at it since 2008, since I fucking first came to New York. It's been 13 years. I've never eaten there. I'm not famous. I'm still just an outsider, tourist, smoking weed and sitting on the patio off hours, like fucking Sandra Bernhard in King of Comedy, kidnapping Jerry Lewis. That's who I am. So I'm sitting there and I hear this fucking like party or something. It sounds like a fucking, and I walk and there's all these people out in the street on this beautiful townhouse in the West Village on Bank Street, right off Waverly, where Waverly dead ends into Bank. And it says Aloha on the front of this beautiful like brownstone townhouse in the West Village. Most expensive neighborhood in the fucking world. And there's all these frat people that have vomed up onto the sidewalk. And they're all beautiful. There's beautiful men and and they've all got red Solo cups. Everybody in our society, no one is above the red Solo cup. We all are united by the red Solo cup. We all drink out of the red Solo cup. It's all we do. We go to parties. We drink out of the red Solo cup. We look at each other. We look at our phones. We have no bravery. We have no transcendent magic. We pay for all that. That's all manufactured by huge entertainment corporations. We don't risk anything like that in real life. We just look at our phones. We stare at each other helplessly, unable to connect. Drinking from our red Solo cups at the party, the Aloha party. So there's all these. It's just a frat party. There's 50 fucking people out front of this fucking house. You hear the murmur of the party. There's music. It's spilled out. The door's open. I thought, should I crash this party? I should go into this party. It's Saturday night. Fuck it. I'm frankly fabulous. But I didn't. I just kind of walked by it a few times. I don't know. It's the West Village. I'm still a little bit. I can't just jive in completely. It's the COVID thing is still there. I don't feel like I can be. It's just weird because we're supposed to be in this hedonistic wild time, and yet I still feel careful and still feel, I don't know, like alone, deprived, fasting, starving. I'm so starving for physical anything. I want to make out with somebody so bad. You have no idea. I mean, why? What is that so much to ask? Come on. Doesn't everybody... There's got to be one person out there. Everybody wants to make out. There's got to be somebody who will make out with me. Alright, anyway. 620 Problem Child. They've castrated the waterfront. Is that Rue, Eric's ex? I'm too afraid to talk to her. I'm too afraid of everyone. My dad and I were talking on the phone during his break at the jam, and there was a brouhaha. The bass player who'd signed up and was playing passed out on stage during one of the songs, so my dad had to go back to play, and the music could go on. Literally no likes from Don Yorty's post of my video. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Matt Proctor. No likes. Just a big heart from Don. He made a beautiful post and so accurate and insightful truths about my book. I'm grateful to have this tasteful and artistic post of thoughts and words. The river shuffles around. It looks like that 12-year-old is noticing me writing. I hope she does it too. That dinner was not really enough food. Hoboken Ferry, W Hotel, Red W. Take the L down the shore. Young that guy. Undinal belly moonward bends. You must be this tall to ride this ride. Poet's House is a major loss. Where else can somebody like me go to check out what they've recently heard of? Follow hot tips. track lineage without library card or account, browse relaxed canon of recent publications and survived volumes, ultimate sincerity, coursework in our inner major. I went to college, those who can't do adjunct. I like to write a little bit in a few places across the night in the village. If you know, you know. So yeah, with this, I mean, Poet's House is, I've talked about it in the show before. It's a poetry library in Battery Park City, and they closed because I don't even know why. They fucked their workers over or something. And that was a huge reason for me to live in New York, to be honest. Like Poet's House, I'd go there usually about once a week, and it was a tremendous resource because, like I say, in this, anything I read about or heard about, I could go to Poet's House. They probably have a book by the writer, you know. I'd have stacks and stacks of shit. I could track, I could read, I could photocopy stuff. It was just, they'd have great programming. It was in an interesting part of town. The books they sold, I mean, I bought that Jackson Maclow book there for $1. I bought Ben Fama book there for $1. They every once in a while, the Kevin Killian book I got there for $1. They put shit out that's like really fucking good for really cheap, so it's one of the prime reasons I lived in New York, to be honest. I don't know that there is a comparable. I mean, Tucson has Arizona State Poetry Center. Chicago, I think Poetry Magazine has a library. LA's got Beyond Baroque, which is sort of, I guess, similar. Maybe San Francisco has something similar. But, I mean, Poet's House. And it's also, it's attracted just a lot of like laptop people and students because it's a free place to just go work, and it's a beautiful setting. You can see the river. There's colleges and shit near there, so like a lot of students and a lot of business people just use it to work on their fucking corporate brainwashing jobs. There are poets that are there definitely that use it, but usually not more than one or two or three or four, other than the people that work there. Most of the people that go there are just like want a free common space to work, and not have to pay for it. But it's closed, so I don't know what to do. I mean, Brooklyn's got some shit that's comparable, but it would be especially good for me now because I could just walk there. I used to go there and I'd walk up the shore, up the river to Christopher Street, and there was this great Vietnamese place that had, and I've talked about this rice dish with chicken for $8, and it was just so amazing. It was one of my favorite things to do, and the restaurant's gone, and now Poet's House is closed. I could walk to Poet's House from here. It would be really a great thing for me to have now. Anything in Brooklyn comparable is not going to be that easy for me to get to, But we'll see. I'd guess that they're going to reopen soon, to be honest. Reds is that movie I was talking about. Warren Beatty directed it, and it's all about West Village commies, socialists and artists and bohemians in Greenwich Village, and now they're all capitalists. All the richest fucking most bloodthirsty wolves on planet Earth live in the West Village now. How fucked up is that? Reds, run a yellow light, solstice ritual. Matt Mitchell is 5'10". Bookmark. Onward and upward to more pitiful, latent, diminutive realizations of my wildest dreams. Aloha party, Waverly and Bank, Saturday night, college spillover, crowd murmur and loud PA into Front Street. Thought, should I crash it, but just walk by a few times. Frat culture, they scared me in college and followed me here. Anxiety, relax. 9:52, it's getting late. Want to get back and record a tape. So yeah, that's me. That's literally what I just talked about. That Aloha party, and now, and saying what time it was, and now I'm doing a tape. Matt Mitchell is 5'10". Matt Mitchell is another poet named Matt, but he's the poet from named Matt from Columbus, who's going to be successful and cool. He's 21st century maybe, and he also stole James Dean motif. His whole book is like a James Dean motif, so he also ripped me off in that regard. We're practically the same person, except he's like the optimized. He's 5'10", I guess. He had a post bragging about it, humble bragging. He's good at that shit. He's good at the internet. And Hanif Abdurraqib is a huge supporter and advocate, which I'm trying to figure out because he's white and he's, I don't know. He's just like corny Midwestern fake spiritual, but he knows how to play the game. And I don't know. It is what it is. It's just not my thing. Nobody likes my poetry. Everybody in New York hates my poetry. But I don't care. I've always subsisted alone and destitute of validation and artistic recognition and success. So I like making my books. I do feel like they are full realizations of my philosophy and my dreams. Like I said in the fucking poem, latent diminutive realizations of my wildest dreams. That's what my life seems like. Like I said, I've been coming to these places and paying my pilgrimage to Cherry Lane Theater, or Edna St. Vincent Millay's house, or where Hart Crane lived, or Chelsea, or whatever, for like over 10 years. I dreamed my way into this life, but it's come out in such a frustratingly, like, it's realized, but it's also like unfulfilled, because even though I've done all these incredible things and I'm where I want to be and I'm doing what I want to do, I'm also like thirsting for approval, recognition, validation. It's not forthcoming. In fact, I don't know. It's just such an interesting mix of heaven and hell. Success, failure, realization, and falling short. I mean, I'm definitely not where I'd like to be as far as recognition or success or money or even existing. I'm still very much like an outsider and not recognized at all. I mean, the Don Yorty thing is one of the first things I've ever done that anybody even took me seriously, to be honest. And look at who liked it. Nobody. Because I'm already on everybody's bad side. I've kind of put my, I've kind of fucked up my, the other thing that happened on Friday, I don't think I talked about this already, Friday, but I'm walking up, so I stopped at Mercer Street on my way, and I bought Lungful, this Brendan Lorber magazine. You may have seen it it's a great magazine. It was only $4.50, so I had to get it, because it's really a wonderful magazine. A lot of great contributors, a lot of great work, drawings. It's hilarious. It's very well done. And it's usually kind of expensive, so I had to get it. And so I'm carrying it, to the reading. I'm going to this reading on 9th and Avenue C in this beautiful park. Oh my God, it was really an incredible thing. And I'm walking. I walked, I think, over on 2nd Street. I don't think I walked over on 3rd. I think because I found these shoes on 2nd Street by the graveyard. And they fit me perfect, but they weren't that comfortable. So I carried them around for a long time. So I was carrying these shoes and this fucking Lungful magazine. And I found in front of a graveyard. Maybe that's a bad thing to get shoes that you find in front of a graveyard. But my fucking sneakers are wearing out. And I totally believe in finding shoes on the street. I don't think you should buy shoes in a store. All of the best pairs of shoes that I've ever had, for the most part, I found on the street. In 2012, 13, 14, I had really good luck finding shoes in stores and on the street. And it's not been the same since. Everything I found, I mean, even these yellow ones I got, they're really not comfortable. I think they're bad for my feet. But I'm wearing them because they're the last shoes I found in the street. I found them in Greenpoint in 2019. And they were fucked up when I got them, but they're the best I could do, and they fit me, and they're sort of comfortable. They have a huge sole, but they're kind of, I don't know, they're like pointy in the fucking... But anyway, so I found these other shoes because I thought, I'm trying to get new shoes, and I'm such a firm believer in finding shoes on the street. I just thought, these must be my shoes. Like, I found them, they fit me perfect. They must be the answer. So I'm carrying them around. I carried them around for a while. I'm carrying the book, and I'm walking up 2nd Avenue, about to turn left on A, because I was going to go to Mast, I think, or something. Or I wanted to go through Tompkins Square Park, so I was going to turn left on A. And A is just the classic. A is just the classic street. You got to walk up A, to be honest. It's probably the best avenue, maybe. There's just so much life on Avenue A. It's fucking crazy. It's just a beautiful place. I mean, I love 2nd Avenue. I love 1st Avenue. But Avenue A it's secluded, but it feels so lively. And kind of, bohemian. And so anyway, I'm coming, and there's like a little taco stand where they sell burritos or whatever. And I'm about to turn left on A, and I see Anselm Berrigan. Like, ordering food from the taco stand. And I've got the Lungful magazine and these shoes. I thought it was a good sign. Seeing Anselm Berrigan on Avenue A in 2nd Street is pretty cool. And I kind of played it cool, and I just kind of walked by in a cool way. On my way to the reading. It was on the way to the reading. So, I don't know. Seeing these poets in the neighborhood and being in the neighborhood and being in Manhattan with them, living on Manhattan, I'm getting closer. It's... time's going fast, even though it's going slow at the same time. It's hard to believe I've been here 4 months almost. March, April, May, June. So, I gotta step it up. After, I've got one last work thing this week, and after that I'll have more time to kind of devote to personal pursuits. That's when I want to figure out my camera thing. And the New York Poetry Festival is the next thing, July 24th. So I've got to figure out. So that's just over a month. I've got to get books together. I've got to get a table. I've got to get my readers. And I also just want to move out into the city. I want to sell books in Washington Square Park. I want to connect there more. I want to do more videos in the city. I'm getting closer. The things that I've already done and the things that I've already taken make me feel good about my progress so far. I've really jumped in with both feet and hit the ground running. Between doing the archive videos at Poetry Project, doing the readings, the open mic, the KGB bar reading, and then doing the Don Yorty blog. And the Ariadne reading, getting my word processing together, getting this up. I'm doing pretty good. I'm not necessarily working 100 hours a week. I'm not working my face off, but the fact that I've even been able to get this stuff together, like the cameras together and stuff, the fact that I'm even up and doing this is pretty cool. I just need to kind of pull it all together and focus it. And really solidify. And I'm out there. My name is getting out there. I'm just trying it, We don't know what this moment is. We're kind of defining it. And nobody can say, no, you can't do that. If I want to do a reading at KGB bar and do it my way, and we did it, and we did, and the show and further things, the Don Yorty blog and outdoor readings to come, and New York Poetry Festival will be a big thing. So, stay tuned. Got big plans to take over. So I don't know, how do I become a poet of the 21st century? Even video stuff. I mean, this fucking camera. This is a fucking tape camera. That's 21st century. Live streaming, or that's 20th century. Live streaming is kind of 21st, I'd say. The internet, that's the beginning of the 21st century, I'd say. So, I hate the internet. But something to think about in your own work. How can I write in this century for this century? What does that mean? What is this moment? I was reading this article, Douglas Coupland, Canadian. He was talking about he's always been kind of a generational theorist and a social commentator in that way, kind of coming from art, literary background. I forget exactly. His point was kind of that individually had been destroyed by the internet has completely rewired our brains in ways that it just happened to everybody, and we don't even really understand. And generations, he invented the term Generation X, I guess, or his book was called Generation X. And so he was saying before that term came out, they just kind of referred to them as boomers, or kind of held them in the same definition or cultural kind of designation. And then the Generation X term was kind of what split it and defined what that meant to be that age. And now it's just a media obsession to delineate all the Gen Z, geriatric millennials, Gen Y. It's just condescending. We see so much of our reality through like boomer, self-centered, kind of spoiled point of view. So it's only after they die off that we're going to be able to like get out from under their narrative. I don't know. I'm on Twitter. That's one way I try to stay up to date stylistically and just like with what's going on. I don't know. I'll report back soon. Think about it in your own work and goings about. Maybe you have some answers for me. We'll talk soon. It's Frankly Fabulous. Watch my Don Yorty video. I'll post the link.